Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Hi, I'm Peter. Okay, welcome back. This is the first time that I filmed in this exact way, with the camcorder on this side of the room. Without a desk, I'm filming this from the windowsill, because I find that this is the best place for lighting in the room. And I also have found that my videos that have my face in it seem to get more views. So, going back to videos with the camcorder. Yeah, so if you haven't seen the title of today's video, I will be doing my review of Dragon Prince Season 3, Episode 5, Heroes and Masterminds. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting episode, and I wrote more on this one than I have on like any other, when it doesn't actually have all of that much in it, but it also does. I wrote almost 2 entire pages on this. But anyways, this video will contain spoilers for seasons 1 through 3 of the Dragon Prince, mostly seasons 1 and 2 and episodes 1 through 5 of Season 3. I would try to avoid spoilers for the remaining episodes of Season 3. If you haven't seen one of these before, basically what I do is I just go over everything that happens in the episode and I talk about it. Some of them are really long, like 45 minutes, and some of them are really short, like 15. So it all just depends on how much content is in the episode, because some episodes are more filler than others. I feel like this one's not quite filler, but it's not quite like, I don't think it has as much content as some ones like The Crown, for example, has a lot of content. Yeah, anyways. Let's get into it. Okay, so we start out this episode with Ezran in the dungeons. Obviously, remember from the previous episode, Ezran had been taken into custody for some kind of deal. And we hear something from above, which happens to be Bait, coming to visit with a bunch of jelly tarts. Yeah. I like that they have Ezran and Bait reunited immediately, but at the same time, I kind of wish that they had been separated for longer. I'm glad that they didn't, but I feel like that'd been an interesting story point. We get to see, it would have been interesting to see an episode like in between. I understand why Ezran needs to be rescued in this episode, but it would have been interesting to have something like in between where Ezran and where we get to see Ezran and Bait's perspectives on missing each other, and then they grow to appreciate each other more. Especially Ezran appreciating Bait more. I just kind of wish that we would get to see that and then see a better reunion. I don't know. I like it both ways. But anyways. So then we go back to the Midnight Desert, and Callum and Rayla are panicking and they're just freaking out because Ezran is missing, their mounts have been untied, the Ambler is gone, Nyx is gone, the fire's been put out, it's just, the camp is completely abandoned. And so they look out over the desert, and it's still nighttime, and they see their mounts are out in the desert, and they're kind of panicking for some reason. And we'll find out why in a moment. So Rayla calls back the mounts, but only one comes back, the one that kind of looks like has more of the shape of like a lion, whereas the other one is like more of the shape of like, I guess, some kind of hybrid deer elk thing. Horse. One kind of more like resembles like a deer, and the other one kind of resembles a lion, I guess. And the one that kind of resembles a lion, the less tall one, comes back. But the other one is still panicking, and they soon discover that she's been surrounded by solving serpents, which are the things that Nyx warned them about in the previous episode. Calum and Rayla go after her when they realize she's being attacked by solving serpents. So Rayla, attempts to save this mount, but unfortunately is unable to, and she only narrowly escapes herself from the serpents. And they both agree that they need to go in the morning, because there's absolutely no way that they're going out there right now. And their mount has its soul sucked out and becomes a husk, which is fun. They both agree that they should wait till sunrise. So then we go back to Viren, and he enters the throne room where there's a large gathering of people. He walks through and says that Catullus has a new king, referring to himself, and Opelli immediately rejects this, and he's like, really? You think you can stop me? So he basically just goes all arrogant mode, and he's like, well, I'm an orphan, technically, even though I'm like 40, 50 years old, but I'm an orphan. And Opelli gets really angry, but Viren sits on the throne, puts on the crown, and says the words, I am the law. Which is kind of ominous. And we also very clearly see this little bug on his ear, which is... It's interesting, the angle of this scene, where it shows like puts a lot of, what's the word? I guess focus? That's not the word I'm looking for. It, focuses in on... Man, what is the word? It's like another word for focusing in on something. What is it? Puts a lot of emphasis. I think it's emphasis. I think it puts a lot of emphasis on, that might be the wrong word, but I think it puts a lot of emphasis on the ear that has Erebos' mouthpiece on it, and the eye that has a way to see Erebos, which kind of shows Viren there, but it's more prominently showing Erebos in that scene. Even though it's still kind of subtle, you can see that he's there, he's behind the scenes, he's pulling the strings of the situation. So then the councilman, what's his name? Savine or something along those lines? Something along those lines. He, very obviously either corrupt or misunderstanding Ezrin's way of ruling, begins to shout, "All hail King Viren," which the crowd obviously joins in on, but Kasif and Opelli decide that they're going to make a run for it, because sooner or later, Viren's going to start going after traitors, which includes them. But Soren notices them leaving. Let's see. And, Corvus says that they should flee to Durin. And then they run into Soren in the hallway. I actually wrote Kasif says they should go to Durin. So I was trying to remember his name because I'm like, okay, I know it's not Kasif that says this, it's Corvus. Anyways, yeah, so they run into Soren. Then we go back to Callum and Rayla, and they're going out into the desert now that it's morning on their remaining mount. And this scene is funny. It just shows the awkwardness of their relationship now, which will get resolved by the end of the episode, but Callum's just like struggling to stay on the back of the mount, and then Rayla's like, just hold on to me, and he's like, what? And it really just shows like teenagers. I'm a teenager. Like, it's teenagers. And it's still weird to have face videos now. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Let's see. Callum's struggling to stay on. Rayla says that you should hold on to her. Callum gets really awkward. I also wrote, he also blushes. They're tracking the Ambler now. Rayla says that it's subtle, that these tracks that she's following are incredibly subtle, but if you look at the tracks, they are not subtle. They're just gigantic imprints in the ground that are extremely easy to follow. So, I hate to break it to you, Rayla, but it's not that subtle. Maybe they're just making it less subtle for us, but it doesn't look that subtle with this gigantic beast that is leaving these huge tracks. It doesn't look like it would be that really hard to track. I'm just saying. The fact that she says it's subtle just always kind of confused me. Let's see. So we go back to Ezrin. He's hanging out with Bates in his cell with all of the jelly tarts that Bate brought. And then someone shows up. And that someone happens to be Soren. Let's see. He says he's going to get him out of there. So we cut to Ezrin and Soren. They're in this weird hallway, which I think is the secret passageway area that the trio went through in like the first few episodes when it's like behind the painting in Viren's office. I think that might be the same place because it kind of looks like it, or maybe it's just like an older part of the castle. I'm not sure. So Ezra asks Soren why he is helping him, and Soren stops and he says, your dad was the king, I'm crown guard, and I did everything I could to help him, but it wasn't enough, so I failed him, and I don't want to fail you too, which is so sad. I love Soren in Season 3, he's so precious. After he breaks his back, he becomes my favorite character after he breaks his back and is healed. He becomes my favorite. I didn't really like him in Season 1, and I didn't super like him for most of Season 2, but at the end, and especially in Season 3 Soren, I just love him. It's like he doesn't want to fail Ezra. That's so sad. I don't know why I'm so emotionally affected by this. I have a shirt now that says emotionally attached to fictional characters, which is very true. I am very emotionally attached to fictional characters. To the point that I had no friends for years. Anyways. Okay. Right, so then we go back to Callum and Rayla, and we see that they notice that the Ambler's foot is stuck. And so they charge forward thinking that this is their chance, which it very well might be. I do like the setup that they do in the previous episode. They mention all of these things that are now important for them to notice, such as the ambush foot getting stuck. I just like the setup. Thought I'd mention that. Let's see. So then we go back to Soren and Ezran and Bates. And somehow they've climbed out of a well. I don't know how deep this well is, but you just climbed out of a well with a child on your back. How strong is Soren? Is there a ladder in there, or how freaking strong are you, dude? Because you just climbed out of a well with a child and a pet on your back. Moving on, so he says that he brought a disguise, and in typical Soren fashion, it's a bag. And then Ezran is like, why don't you just push me in this hay bale? Though I actually do like Soren's idea, because I feel like it's actually less strange to see Soren carrying a bag on his back than to be pushing a cart of hay. Because it doesn't really seem like what the crown guard would be doing. But let's just make it even more obvious, as Soren does. So Soren is super obvious, and he's just like, horses need hay. I am bringing hay to the horses. And there's this one guy in the background who's like, okay, stop shouting at me, please. What has life done to you, dude? Random guy in the background, random extra, who says one line. It seems like there might be something wrong there. And there's just a random stranger shouting on the street. And you immediately assume that they're mad at you, specifically. Is there something wrong? Because it sounds like you might need some help. Just saying. Anyways, yeah. So, we also see these soldiers who are weird because they notice that the hay is glowing, because of bait. They're like, pretty cool. It's pretty neat. And just don't suspect anything. These are terrible soldiers. Like, Opelli says that these are like the most highly trained soldiers in the land, and they don't recognize that a glowing pile of hay isn't normal. Love that. Anyways, so then we go to Claudia and Viren. So Claudia comes in to see Viren. She notices the bug on his ear, asks him if he's okay. He says he's fine. And they have a conversation, and he's like, you realize that that Ezran had to be removed, that I am not taking the throne out of self-importance, that I want to help people. Okay. Here's my rant for the video. Viren. I am unsure what to think about Viren, if I'm being honest. On the one hand, he seems pretty evil at this point. He's completely in the clutches of Erebos, or to his knowledge he thinks that Erebos is completely in his clutches, but he seems like the most evil person imaginable, right? But at the same time, he also kind of seems like he's being manipulated by Erebos. And that maybe he actually does think, though it's clearly not true, he might actually think that he's doing what's best for the people of Katalis and the rest of the human kingdoms. But I would have believed that more if it was like a season ago, and if I didn't see what happened in the future, I might believe that more. I'm conflicted about Viren. Like a season ago, I might have thought that he actually thought he was doing this for the good of Vitalis, but I'm not 100% certain now. Clearly he's in the wrong. I just don't really know if he actually thinks that what he's doing is for the good of other people at this point. That's another video that I kind of want to do after I finish Season 3 reviews, is talking about Viren as a villain before Season 4 comes out. Which, as I mentioned in the video that I made yesterday, which should have come out a week ago from when this one is posted, I am super excited that we now have a sneak peek at Season 4. Finally. It has been so long. But anyways, rant over. Let us continue. Okay. So, he also mentions that Ezran couldn't make the right choices. Well, Claudia says that she understands that Ezran couldn't make the right choices, which is not true. He did make the hard choices and the right choices. War was the easy way out, in a way. I wrote, clearly not true. And then when Claudia leaves, Erebos, in his ghost-like form, mentions that she will be a valuable asset, and Viren gets all defensive immediately and is like, she is not an asset, she's my daughter. This is another moment where I'm conflicted about Viren. I know that he's in the wrong, but I still wonder if he thinks what he's doing is right. Why are villains so fun to study? I don't know. It's just a thing. Anyways. So we go back to Soren and Ezran, and Soren tells everyone to come out. We have the Baker, Opelli, and Corvus come out of the bush, and Ezran and Bate come out of the hay cart thing. I just think this is funny. They hid in a hay cart in like one of the first few episodes, Ezran and Bate, and they were found because it was glowing. Yeah. Anyways, then we have the greatest quote, Soren the Mastermind, which kind of reminds me of like Bill Nye the Science Guy. That was, yeah. I don't know why. Soren the Mastermind, Bill Nye the Science Guy. I wonder if they got that from that. I don't know. But yeah, that was a good line. So, Soren leaves, but before he leaves, he says that the others will take him to the rendezvous point. And Ezran hugs him and says that he is the best crown guard a king could ask for, which is adorable. So we go back to Callum and Rayla. We're now on the next page. They're riding after the Ambler, but unfortunately Nyx gets the Ambler's foot unstuck. So they decide to climb up Pitt's leg. Rayla jumps, says that she'll catch Callum. She does. They climb up the leg. Somehow, I am still incredibly impressed by Rayla's climbing skills. Like, dang. Good for you. And then Callum, of course, struggles, but somehow manages to get to the top. So they both get into the saddle of the Ambler, and they confront Nyx. She says that she was going to deliver Zim, but she also wanted to get a sweet reward with that. So they think that they have Nyx quartered, but clearly they forgot that she can fly. So she flies away. Yeah. So then we go back to Viren and Claudia. Viren is waiting to give a speech of some kind, which we'll learn later in the episode. And we have perhaps one of the weirdest and kind of uncomfortable jokes in the series, where Claudia says, "Oh yeah, Soren told me that he ate some bad cheese and is now paying the price. I only need one color to paint that picture. Brown. Like, that is the most childish joke you could ever make. And I'm disappointed in you, creators of The Dragon Prince. Honestly. Really? I mean, it's kind of funny, but also, no. Do we really need to include that? Anyways. Okay. And, Viren is also grossed out by this. So then Viren goes out onto this balcony area to address his army. He says that they are the greatest army in the human kingdoms, which is probably correct. But not due to Viren, but because of Amaya and Callum and Ezran's mom. Anyways. So he says that Ezran's last act as king, this part is true, was that anyone who did not wish to fight against Zadia would be allowed to go home to their families safely and not be counted as deserters. But Viren is guilt-tripping. Wow, okay. Do I need to sneeze? I don't know. I feel like I'm back at my friend's house. Yesterday, we had a game night, and she has cats, and I'm allergic to cats, which is fun. Anyways, I'm technically wearing the same clothes as yesterday, so maybe I have cat hair on me. Or maybe I just need to sneeze. I don't know. Okay, moving on. So he guilt-trips the soldiers and says that the cowards can leave, which is clearly trying to get people to stay. But a few people do leave, starting with the guy, I believe it is the same person, who Rayla spared in one of the first episodes. I think it was the first episode. Which is cool. He learns in that moment that he doesn't need to be fully afraid of Zadia, that some are good. And so he leaves. He doesn't want to fight against Zadia. And he is followed by several others, but Viren says that they will now wear a badge of shame and that they are the army's weakest link. Okay. Yeah. And then Soren shows up right at the end. Alright, now we are back in the Midnight Desert, and night is falling very quickly. Nyx has flown off with Zem, but he starts biting her wings and zapping her, and they both fall in opposite directions. Callum and Rayla go onto this rope and swing down, and we have this wonderful quote. Wow, when did you learn to do that? I've never done that in my life. So they get back to Zim, and they are kind of safe on this little upper grassy platform thing. But Nyx has broken wings, and she's surrounded by soul-fitting serpents. So then we go back to Ezran. He's saying his goodbyes. Corvus says that he has shown more grace and bravery than most leaders have in a lifetime, which is very true. He's made some of the hardest decisions, especially as a kid. I still don't think that he should have been king because he's a child, but he made a good king, and I don't like the idea of not being able to grow up properly, but I don't mind the idea of him being king. Just not him not being able to grow up. That bothers me a little bit. And then Lujane shows up with Fifi. And we haven't seen her since the beginning of season 2. and she says that she assumes that Soren was the one who sent her the letter. And we have the great quote, "Dear Moon Lady." And I believe I referenced this line in like the beginning of season 2, where I said, "The Moon Lady, dear Moon Lady." Great line. Anyways, the baker then hugs Ezran and Bate very tightly. I feel like he's grown attached to them very quickly for someone who hated them like a month ago. And once Ezran and Bate have left, Lujane reveals that she's going to go partying around and messing with humans. Which I am very interested in what happened there, but anyways. I know we have like a little Easter egg scene in like the credits. But yeah. Anyways. Let's see. So then we go back to Callum and Rayla. Rayla decides that she's gonna go help Nyx. She saves her with... Oh, I'm focused. Alright, we're good. Okay. She goes and saves her with an epic snake head chopping sequence, which is great. I think that's like super smooth animation. Like the animation in season 1 wasn't incredibly smooth all the time. And it even had a couple of weak points in season 2, and even like 1 or 2 in season 3. It's never perfect, either is like any animation, but we have like this really smooth animation in this scene, and it's so good. But anyways, and Callum is stunned. So back on the Ambler, Nyx asks Rayla why she helped her. And Callum answers for her and says that she is a hero, and he gives another great speech, which was also kind of cheesy, but yeah. And then he kisses her, which is great, and I love that. I ship these two so much. Then he gets all awkward, and then she kisses him back. And that's the end of the episode. I don't know if I should share this next line that I wrote on YouTube. Gotta be out of myself. This scene. Specifically, the moment where Rayla's just like, shut up, and then kisses him back. I don't know who I would rather be in this situation. We're moving on from that. Yeah, so this is a great episode. Great Raylan shipping thing. And there was some great Ezra moments. We have Viren rising to the throne and being ominous as usual. Yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode that I will rewatch a million times, mostly for the Raylan stuff, but still. I also did find a way to watch the new Owl House episodes, and they were so good, and I also cried so many times, but I'm not going to go into that. I may review the Owl House later, actually, because I'm thinking about doing more videos for Keeper the Movies to get these shows done more quickly. But anyways, let me go over my next 4 weeks worth of videos. So for Keeper the Movies, we have the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 6 review, Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 7 review, the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 8 review, and I believe there's 9 episodes, so that's the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 9 review, and then we'll be done with the Dragon Prince until Season 4 comes out. Yeah. As for Keeper of the Books, let me go grab my paper. What it is. think it's you. Okay, so first of all, we have Keith Sensen versus Halt from Ranger's Apprentice in the side character tournament, and then we have the final in the side character tournament. And then we begin the villain tournament with our first 2 rounds: Dr. Hatch from Michael Vey versus Yasin Grigorovich from Alex Rider, and a villain from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Morgrath from Ranger's Apprentice. I was about to say the name of that villain, but I realized that would be a major time spoiler, so I'm not going to say it. I did say it in my Keeper the Books video, because I had already given a spoiler warning for Keeper at the beginning of that, since it was a Keeper-related video. But yeah, and as for Keeper the Games, it's just a bunch of Breath of the Wild stuff. I'm still having some issues with my Switch filming setup, so I may need to do some other stuff aside from Breath of the Wild. Maybe finally get my Steam account properly set up and play the Talos Principle, or possibly convince my mother to allow me to play Skyrim on camera. I played off camera all the time, but I haven't been allowed to on camera yet. Or perhaps I can do an actual Minecraft playthrough. I don't know yet. But for now, it's just a bunch of Breath of the Wild stuff until I run out of backlog. Anyways, that is all I have for today. I will see you guys next time.